What's good, YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the new TCG ban list. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but part of it is I haven't had the willingness to upload with the lack of knowing when the ban list is coming. I have a couple of, I have some deck profile updates that I haven't wanted to put forward yet because I haven't gotten the cards due to there being no ban list. But now that we have a ban list, there will be future content coming. There will be an Invoked Eldritch deck profile and an updated Shaddoll Dino deck profile coming very soon. But anyways, so the new ban list dropped today. So there's quite a few changes, more changes I think than I expected. Honestly, I didn't expect a ton of massive changes on this list. But overall, I feel like first impressions, it was a pretty decent list. There's some issues we'll get to in a moment, but let's go and get to it. So the first card banned is Archnemesis Protos. This was a card a lot of people were complaining about because it can completely lock your opponent out of playing the game. You know, you can blow up your own stuff and then lock them out of summoning things for the turn. It's a really strong effect, and I think it was pretty obvious. Like, it's a floodgate type monster. We don't like those, and it's a worm monster, so Sword Souls are playing it. It is obviously it's a very powerful card, and there's good riddance. None of us like floodgates, so good riddance. So the next banned card is Eva. This is some kind. This might be an effective death. This is obviously a nerf to Drytron. This could effectively kill them. I think because the Eva play, putting it to 1 obviously wasn't enough. A lot of people said that. So banning it definitely puts a big hit on Drytron because we're missing that, really strong play to be able to add extra resources. Now that's gone. So definitely a huge hit on Drytrons. It could effectively cripple the deck into falling out of the meta. Good hit. I think most people agree that it was probably the correct thing to do. The next banned card is the Simorgh Link Monster. Being able to summon, and the main reason this is being banned is because of the Lurelust Tri-Brigade. It can grab the Wind Barrier statue for deck for free, locking your opponent out of playing the game. Obviously, as we mentioned with the Archnemesis hit, people don't like that. And it was a really, really strong play. You could also grab an Avian from deck for free, which, obviously, is insanely strong, so not a surprising hit at all. This is definitely a big hit on Lurelust Tri-Brigade, and this isn't the only one, so definitely a step in the right direction. The final banned card, I believe, is Imperial Order, so this is great. I was a little iffy about this because this was one of the cards that was on when they eroded a whole bunch of cards. I was a little iffy if they were going to actually listen to us and finally ban this card. Blanket spell negation is just not a good thing to have. There's no card that does what Imperial Order does that exists in Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of like blanket spell negation. And it was a really sacky one-of that could completely lock you out of playing the game. So obviously this was a card that needed to be banned, and I'm glad that Konami listened. This was it took them a few more lists than it probably should have, but nevertheless, it's better late than never, I guess. So the first limit is the first card that's back off the ban list is Destrudo. Now this is an interesting one. I love Destrudo. It's one of my favorite tuners in the game. I've always liked Destrudo. This was banned in the wave of tuners that were banned when Hulk was still on the ban list. This is pretty interesting because this is obviously something that they're bringing us off the list, but Hulk is still on the ban list. And Destrudo, you don't really need more than one because you have Dragon Ravine, which is pretty easily accessible via the Dragoonity Link 2. So it's not hard to get to Destrudo. And you also have things like Armageddon Knight, even though it is limited, as we see here, you can just summon it off of Isolde and then send Destrudo and then make Hulk. I don't know if this was the smartest thing to bring off the ban list with Hulk still in the picture, but, I'd rather have the card than not. Then the other hit is Fairy Tale Snow. I'm not a huge fan of Fairy Tale Snow because even at 1, it's really, really easily accessible. You have things like Beatrice, for example. I'm not a huge fan of the card. I think it really restricts your ability to, out a board, because you can have all the outs and then Snow is still sitting there in the grave preventing you from outing the board. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of Snow. I don't think it should have been unbanned, unfortunately, but it's one of the few changes I really disagree with on this particular list. So the next limited card is 2 Pendulum cards are off the list: Astrograph Sorcerer and Lunalight Tiger. Demian's still at 1 for some reason. Astrograph, I don't think it's a great card, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's really going to do very much in a format that lacks Electromite. It's still an incredibly strong card, but there's just not a lot of ways to effectively trigger it outside of, maybe you could hard draw it and then use something like Chronograph Sorcerer's effect to pop, or some of the pendulums, maybe something like Wisdom Eyes, but there's not a lot of effective ways to get it to the hand either outside of Time Star Magician, the Magician rank 4 that not a lot of people play anymore. So it's not a bad card, and it's one of my favorite artworks in Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the card to pieces. I'm glad it's off the list, but I don't think it's going to have a drastic impact. The same thing with Lunalight Tiger. The reason this was put on the ban list was more so because it was a generic engine used in Orcust variants, but I don't think it's going to have a huge impact at 1. Orcust hasn't really been good for several formats, and, I don't think it's going to but it's nice to have it off the list. Starling is going to 1. This is a big change because now it's a lot more difficult for them it kind of eliminates the F-Zero play that they make using 2 of these. So now they only have that 1 search, which is a big difference between what they currently have, which is, using it twice in a turn. So limiting it really limits their play lines. So I think this is a good step to also giving another way of hitting their Lush Tri-Brigade. It's definitely a good hit in my opinion. And the Monster Gate is going to 1. Not sure about this. I'm not sure why it's at 1. But the card's been at 3 for a while and hasn't really done anything, so I can't really say a lot about Monster Gate. I mean, it goes up from 1 to 3 depending on the format, so it's a whatever. I don't know. Pot of Desire is going to 1. I strongly disagree with this change. I don't know why Desires is going to 1. I don't know. It's always been a strong card, but I don't think it really deserves to be on the ban list, unless this is a thing where they just want you to play the other pot cards, but not every deck can play, Prosperity is insanely expensive for majority of players are not going to be able to afford the card, and not every deck can play Extravagance, so I disagree with this hit. If this is just simply trying to force people to get Prosperity, I guess, but I really don't agree with this limit, and I don't think it needed to happen, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So, again, I'm off on a small tangent. I hate the semi-limit section. I think it's a complete waste of time. Nothing should be here, but we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about it. Nothing but Militia should be on the semi-limit section. Let's get that out of the way. So Hero Lives is going to 2 up from 1. This was originally limited because you could summon Stratos from the deck and do a whole bunch of combos with it when it came off the list. I don't think this is going to have a drastic impact. Fusion Destiny and Nadir Servant are both going to 2. This is kind of putting them to 2 kind of before they probably go to 1 on a future list. They don't want to hit the cards too much because they're still selling products. Destroy Phoenix Enforcer is still a product selling card, and Nadir Servant just got reprinted, so they don't want to put these cards to 1 yet because they still want to sell their product. But it doesn't really drastically change. It's a little bit less consistent. People are still going to play 2 Fusion Destiny in their deck just to summon Phoenix Enforcer, and you're left Verte unbanned. So it doesn't make it any less consistent, really. It's like you're still going to open Fusion Destiny about 1 in 5 hands as opposed to 1 in 3. It's about 22% versus 33%. It's not that big of a difference. Salomon Great Circle and Scapegoat, both these cards should be at 3. I don't think, Salomon Greats, I get kind of taking that slow thing to pull them off the list, but they're not going to do anything really now. And Scapegoat, I think the card is a little bit past its prime. I think that it's a bit slow, And granted, you can still make an access, nowadays, it used to be Bulbasaur, but now you can make an access code talker with one scapegoat on the end phase, but I don't think that's a super relevant play nowadays. I don't think it really is going to have a huge impact, and it'll probably go to 3 next list. So the unlimited section, so Danger Nessie. The other Danger cards are still on the ban list, but obviously Nessie is one they feel comfortable to bump to 3. Darkness Metal Dragon, it got an errata, so it doesn't no need for it to even be on the list anymore. I was surprised Joker wasn't already at 3, but now it's at 3, so a little more help for Pendulum alongside the Astrograph going to 3. Eats Ellie, I kind of expected this. This is they put it to 2, put it back to 3. Regeki going to 3. I've said for a while I don't feel like Regeki was a really strong card, and I feel like it probably didn't need to be it probably could have been to 3 and no one's going to play it. So, might as well put it to 3. Skill Drain going to 3 is kind of interesting. I don't know whether it's going to... it's nice. It hasn't been at 3 since it got limited because of Cleaforts back in, I think, 2015. So it's been, several years since it's been at 3. So it's Skill Drain is one of my favorite trap cards, so it's nice to see it off the list. I don't know if it's going to have a huge impact, but it's just nice to see. So anyways, about comes to the end of the video. To summarize, they did a lot of things right, but there's still a few changes that I think the semi-limit changes, I'm going to say every time, nothing but Mally should be there. But I get it in the case of Nadir Serve and Infusion Destiny. They don't want to hurt product sales too much, so they don't want to put it straight to 1 right now. But other than that and the Desires limit, I think this is a pretty good list. Drytron and Lyrilusk Tire Brigade got their hits. They're going to be a lot weaker now, which is probably going to mean it's going to be a very Sword Soul heavy format. You're still going to see Phoenix Enforcer because, Fusion Destiny's wasn't put to 1. You're still going to see a lot of that. Even Verte is still in the picture, so, overall I think it's a decent list. Not perfect, no list is, but it's a pretty good list and a step in the right direction. So anyway, guys, that comes in the video game. You guys think of this ban list down in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Swarfstorm, signing out.